You know, this one was barely on anyone's radar, mainly because with all the different outlets for movies and shows, you can say that there's so much content everywhere. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about a brand new Apple TV Plus release, The Sky is Everywhere. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie were, if you already saw it, or if you were planning on seeing it, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more movie-related content like reviews and rankings on a near-daily basis. But let's not waste any more time and let's talk about The Sky is Everywhere. This stars Grace Kaufman as Lennie, a shy teenage musician who tries to keep things together in the aftermath of her older, more outgoing sister's death. Based on the young adult novel of the same name, this is directed by Josephine Decker, and it was distributed by A24, who released it through Apple TV Plus in conjunction with a limited theatrical release. Now, I'll admit, YA movies aren't typically my thing, but I was intrigued because A24 picked this up. I like Josephine Decker's previous movie Shirley, and there actually have been a few of these sort of movies that have pleasantly surprised me in the last few years, with Words on Bathroom Walls probably being my favorite of the most recent ones. Now, I haven't read the original novel, so I don't know how it compares, but what I can say is this does hit a lot of the tropes we've seen in these YA movies more times than I can count. It's got an overly sentimental tone, there's a romance involved, and in this romance, you have someone who puts the brave face on and tries to show they have it all together, while someone else is going through some sort of struggle. In this case, our lead grieving her sister's sudden death. It's a very well-directed film. Shirley is the only other Josephine Decker movie I've seen, but one thing that remains consistent between that film and this is that she has a lot of visual flair and knows how to take sequences that might not inherently be interesting and give them a nice boost. And we see that through these visions and dreams Lennie has as she gets wrapped up in her own thoughts, thinking back on her sister and the effect she had on her. The acting is also fine all around, for the most part at least. Grace Kaufman gives a compelling performance as Lennie, doing her best to add some depth and nuance to the character, with Jacques Coleman also doing a solid job as her love interest Joe. Though I'd say Cherry Jones as Lennie's grandmother probably gives the best performance of the bunch, as she's the primary caretaker of the sisters after their mother's death, and when Bailey, Lennie's sister, dies as well, it leads to a contentious relationship between her and Lennie. The only one who I didn't particularly enjoy was Jason Segel as Lennie's Uncle Big, this free-spirited hippie type who also lives with her and her grandmother. Now, not that I dislike Segel in general, but he feels so disconnected from most of the film's events and feels like such an obvious bystander who we occasionally cut to in order to get some comedic relief. His sporadic appearances were often jarring, and I feel he could have been cut altogether with little to no effect on the rest of the movie. Which leads to more of my issues with this. The film has such an odd tone that I couldn't get past. Now, I'm a big proponent of films that try to use humor as a way to break the tension. Usually when people criticize other movies for doing this, I wind up not minding it. But the way it's done here felt so jarring that I couldn't tell if it was attempting to be a comedy at times. We'd have quirky moments where we'd hear odd sound effects to signify a text or sudden thought or some lighthearted banter between friends, which would then quickly be followed by these heavy moments centered around grief that were meant to signify huge emotional weight. The problem is, these attempts at humor rely more on the style in which they're delivered rather than because they're inherently funny, so they don't land at all. Plus, when it comes to the film's emotional side, it doesn't really stick. Like I said, everyone's performances are mostly fine, but this film does a poor job of letting us know who Lennie was prior to her sister's death. The thing is, that winds up being a big deal as characters repeatedly point out how she's changed and how she's acting selfish and closed off ever since Bailey died. It's a huge topic of conversation, but outside of the occasional flashbacks, most of the film takes place after Bailey dies and Lennie has since changed. So we have a very good idea of this character's flaws, but not so much what makes her so likable beyond a solid lead performance. So it's hard to truly be invested in a lot of this conflict because our attachment to this character only goes so far. Which has always been my thing with films that center around the aftermath of a tragic event, as they'll ask us to trust them that this protagonist was such a great, likable person, but all we'll ever see for 3/4 of the film is them lashing out, hurting others, or they're so disconnected from everyone without ever seeing what made them so likable in the first place. And while plenty of these sort of movies have great actors doing their best, in a way, it feels a little emotionally manipulative. I found The Sky is Everywhere to be a very middling experience overall. While it's well acted and visually stunning, it also plays way too much into tropes of the young adult genre without really backing it up with any substantive character development, making our investment only go so far. You can certainly do worse than this, but there's just not enough here to say it was a particularly enjoyable experience. The Sky is Everywhere gets a 5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see The Sky is Everywhere, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Is this one of your favorite YA movies? How did it compare to the book if you read that? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.